Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dr. Soul Brother with you again with a remedy to help cure your ills. I got tied up and back on the scene now, but I wanted to take a minute to go over some things that trouble me. I want to try to engage people. So, again, even though this is a monologue, I want to be able to get it where I have a dialogue with some of you on my show. So if anybody can in the comments section help me and get that set up, that'd be appreciated. We all know about the recent um, exposure of P. Diddy and the beating. Is it keeps saying this stuff about alleged, but it's not alleged. He actually did it, and it's captured on film. And we also saw um, the um, public apology regarding Casey. I want to do this show because this has been weighing on me for a while, but um, now that this P. Diddy controversy has gone viral, I need to ask this question: can anybody out here, under the sound of my voice, out there in the clouds, say if the actions of P. Diddy reflect most black men in this society? Ask that question again, and I want a straight up answer. Do the actions of P. Diddy, Sean P. Diddy Combs, reflect the majority of black men in this society? Now, I'm going to say a few things, and I want to try to make this clear in plain English. And I hope there's nobody in the clouds who has a problem with comprehension or hearing. I am by no means trying to project or deflect as it relates to this. But at the same time, I have to keep it 100. I find it interesting. And before I continue with that, clearly P. Diddy should be punished for his behavior. That behavior was jacked up all over the place. Because for one thing, this took place, we found out it happened in 2016, and we, the public, just not finding about it 8 years later. And then um, there was an incident that happened last month in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I think it was, somewhere in Wisconsin, where a young 19-year-old sister went out on a date with a 30 something year old white man who she met on the internet, some dating app or whatever, and he dismembered her. Now, again, am I trying to deflect or project? Absolutely not. Abuse of any sort is not unique to any group. And anybody on the side of my voice knows and understands that. But see, here's the problem. Um, and you know it as well as I do. Had that been a black man who did that, dismembered that sister, you swirlers, you active swirlers, and you emotional swirlers would have been all over that. And I got to break that down real quick. The swirlers are those, for those who don't know what a swirler is, that's a black woman who chooses to overlook or bypass black men as far as dating or marrying them, and have chosen white men. And when you choose white men, the message is very clear. Um, you're sending a message clearly. He- the white man is the better choice. Okay, that's the case. But what I'm saying is, if that had been a black man who did that, dismembered her, folk would have been all over that. And I can't help but notice that folks are not going in very much in what happened with this bastard, or rather, what this bastard did to that sister. So those are the same ones who are quick to jump on Diddy. Now, again, I am not defending Diddy at all. I'm not a fan of his, frankly, because he's of low character. clearly. But my point is that um, if you had seen a white man do what Diddy did, and make no mistake, we got y'all swirlers numbers. You've been in situations or know of situations where white men have put their hands on black women, whether they're dating them or married them, but nobody says no. But getting back to this here, I said earlier, black men are not unique to that type of abuse that we saw with P. Diddy. And while every race of men are guilty of that, it should be noted that folk want to amplify, highlight, if you will, the behavior of black men. And because Diddy did that, he's a known person, and then you have lesser known folk who do those kind of things. You want to put it out there or use that to rationalize and justify not dealing with us as black men. Well, Dr. Soul Brother takes umbrage as it relates to that. Great umbrage. Okay. And let me be clear to those of you who are out there, white folks, Latinos, Asian, any other non-black group. I don't want to hear jack from you regarding what goes on in the black community. Nothing. You know in your own communities that the men do some jacked up thing to their natural counterparts. Okay? So if anybody is guilty of projecting or deflecting, it's y'all. Let me be clear. Let me be real clear. So for any of you who want to um, amplify the behavior of what some black men are guilty of that are jacked up, and yet you'll note what happens, what goes on in other groups. It's not like you're walking around ignorant of that. You go around and pay attention and are aware of those kind of things, and then you keep it moving. No, you need to be laid out on a therapist couch for real, for real. Okay, the actions of somebody like P Diddy or any other black man, or if he's a lesser known black person, that does not necessarily reflect all of us. It does not, and it's highly insulting to suggest otherwise. To suggest that rather, it is. So here's what needs to happen. At some point, there needs to be uh, a discussion, a serious discussion where there's hardly any emotions, which I mean, I know that can be a difficult thing to do, but that needs to happen because this is out of control, out of control. And as far as Mr. Diddy goes, from what I can see, first of all, his apology doesn't mean much because um, this was hidden from us on purpose. This was hidden from us, and so if he was really sincere about his apology, uh, he should have apologized shortly thereafter. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's done this before with her and with some other folk. So I'm not a defense counsel for black men who do jacked up things. I'm not. Now, those of you who will come away from my broadcast and arrive at the conclusion I'm serving as a defense counsel for when black men are dead wrong, yes, because your anti black sentiment that's laying dormant in your psyche is what's is what's happening with you. And so that clearly there's a psychological block. And let me be clear, when that happens, there's not much that can be done with a person who has visceral hatred for somebody because they are what that's what's driving them. It's like when you run into a racist white person who, even when you lay out the cold facts about the achievements and accomplishments of black folks historically, they're not moved by that because they want to believe that's what uh, uh, tickles their fancy, um, the racist outlook. And not only that, um, they're so driven by their racism that they really, all that other stuff doesn't mean anything. So it works the same way with the anti black sentiment that exists in our community. And that anti black sentiment is something that is there as a result of the influence of white supremacy. We need to be clear. But again, I didn't want to be on here forever, but I wanted to hop on and deal with that because that's an issue. That's a real issue. And people who engage in the kind of behavior that P. Diddy did with that sister, um, you got a problem. You got a problem. And I don't care. Well, you got mama issues, and then you have unresolved mama issues. Well, you know what? Um, the reality is this: you have crossed the line. There's some lines that you don't cross. That right there is one of them. Is one of them. So, um, it might very well be the end of this man's career. It might very well be. And if it is, then so be it. Because there are some things you just don't do. But I wanted to get on here and make it clear that the behavior of some black men who do jacked up things within the community is not a reflection of the rest of us necessarily. Again, abuse and all that kind of stuff is not unique to any group, okay? But there's a tendency to act like it is unique. Any kind of pathology, if you will, or pathologies that exist are unique to black folks. And that is not only is it fundamentally false, it's highly insulting. Highly insulting. And yet, you want to turn around and give other groups a pass here and a pass there, and in some cases, roll out the red carpet and all that in spite of what you know. No, you got a problem. And you yourself need to be stretched out on a therapist couch for real, for real. So with that, I'm gonna wrap things up. And at some point I'll elaborate more on these pathologies that exist. And there needs to be a serious meeting of the minds where we do a maybe a Zoom call or something with people are um, who are psychologists and psychiatrists or sociologists and whatnot. And and not just um, psychologists, psychiatrists, and sociologists, but black psychologists, black sociologists, and black psychiatrists who have a genuine concern and love for black folks to the point where you are trying to get to making resolutions. Because it's one thing to be a black sociologist, a black psychiatrist, or a black psychologist, but it's another thing to be a sociologist, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist who happens to be black. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. So with that, Dr. Soul Brother is going to end it now. I said this was um, this is my heart talking. I wanted to get on here and hop on real quick and go down this route. But please subscribe, um, hit the comment, make your comments, um, tell people about my channel, and I'll be on here more often. I said I got tied up with some personal things that needed to be dealt with, and that's just life. You all know that. But I just wanted to hop on here and deal with that real quick. So enjoy your day, and until the next time, God bless.